Lord, we pray that you would be with the siblings, little boys and little girls that are wondering what happened to their brother and sister.
The town of Uvalde is shattered after the massacre at an elementary school here. At least 19 children died and 2 teachers. The next day, hundreds came together at the fairgrounds to mourn and pray.
Pray for each of us as we help them, as we point them to Him.
On Tuesday, an 18-year-old carrying an AR-15, a semi-automatic rifle, barricaded himself in a classroom for more than 40 minutes. Texas Governor Greg Abbott spoke the next day.
Evil swept across Uvalde yesterday. What they need now more than ever is our love. What they need is uplifting from all of our fellow Texans and all of our fellow Americans.
What did you think about the governor's speech?
What we heard inside from the governor, it's just bullshit.
State Senator Roland Gutierrez represents this part of the state.
You know, after Sunderland Springs, Santa Fe near Houston, after El Paso, you know, he had roundtables. Those roundtables were supposed to have solutions. What were they about? A lot of good that did these kids over here.
Over the last 15 years, Texas has enacted at least 25 bills easing its gun restrictions.
Republicans passed an open carry bill this last session, which means that you can walk around with a long rifle without a license of any kind. We have a problem in Texas. We have a problem in these United States that's not being addressed. I'm not talking about taking people's guns away, simple solutions that we have a little bit more control about how this person accesses this kind of weaponry.
What kind of power does an AR-15 have?
Last night I had to be there with my constituents. So I didn't really want to talk to anybody. They're just patiently waiting because they were waiting on DNA matches because their children's faces had just been shattered. Unrecognizable.
Since 2016, there have been 6 mass shootings in the state. In total, 92 people died. There's a cycle in American history that every time there's a mass shooting, there's this cry for gun reform, for change in laws. I'm headed to the site of the biggest mass shooting in Texas's history, a church in Sunderland Springs. There, the church members did not call for this massive gun reform. In fact, they embraced guns.
I was in the second pew over on this side. I see everything. I saw everything.
Julie Workman and her son survived the massacre in 2017. 26 people in the church were killed.
And I looked over at my son, and the next thing I realize is I see the barrel of his AR pointing down at my son's back. So I actually watched him fire the bullet that paralyzed my son into his back.
Having gone through such a horrific experience and now seeing other people very close by live through a similar experience, what is that like for you?
I immediately wanted to throw up, and I started bawling. My heart was broken because I know that there's going to be a whole nother group of people that are going to live the same things that I have lived through for the past 4 years.
After every mass shooting, there is a call for new legislation, for gun reform. Do you support those efforts?
I am a gun owner. I wanted my gun that day. I think there's some things that could be adjusted, could be looked at. What was it? 18-year-old buys 2 ARs and buys tactical gear. Why is somebody buying this? They're not in the military. They're not in the police department. I believe a gun is a tool, and in the right hands, the tool has a purpose. There's a reason we have a Second Amendment. Our founding fathers knew that we needed that tool. I believe if we take guns completely away, that we will end up in utter chaos.
I think one can say effectively that guns no longer are an instrument of utility. All right, they fully have graduated or transformed into a symbol of identity.
The overwhelming perpetrators of mass shooters in the United States are white men. This latest shooting seems to flip the script. We don't know much about the shooter, but he appears to be Latino. Does that surprise you?
Does it surprise me? It would surprise me if he advocated for the same white nationalist ideological incentive or reason why he did this. But I would say that the relevant observation is here that you're going to find in terms of the rise of mass shooters is what he shares with many of the white shooters is a sense of a strong and intense sense of social disconnectivity, a sense of personal alienation, not having access to historical social linkages from which mental health is derived. There is a racial dynamic here that hasn't been appreciated yet when one is talking about expanding access to guns. All right. The United States has never tolerated the notion of minority communities vigorously pursuing their Second Amendment rights.
Do you think there'll be any policy change to come out of this latest shooting?
I would like to say yes. I really would. No, I think by and large you're liable, unfortunately. Look, if it didn't occur after Sandy Hook and all those children were shot, it's not likely to occur now. In fact, as I mentioned, we seem to be saying that the direction to go in is make access to guns even easier, all right, for people with no qualifications and no need to acquire those qualifications. So if there's a change, it'll unfortunately be worse. So the answer to your question is, I would like to be optimistic about that, but it doesn't appear that we're moving in that direction. We seem to be going in the opposite direction.